Social media and children. This is something that we should never mix. But what's the big deal with this? Why is this something that seemed as harmful or even potentially dangerous to our children? In recent years, with the rise of social media platforms such as Instagram, TikTok, and even YouTube, parents becoming family vloggers has become a much more popular way for families to generate mass income for them to help provide for their children. So, why is it an issue for these children to help provide for their family and be plastered all over their parents' social medias? While there are many things that can be wrong with exploiting your children online to gain money for your family, there are definitely a few notable reasons that stand out to most researchers. When you post your children online, you are making them all the more vulnerable to things such as harassment and even identity theft. You lose control of what happens to these pictures or videos after you post them. And having a digital footprint at such a young age that your child can't consent to can affect them in many ways once they grow older. The amount of information you share, and even the type of information you share, can leave your child very vulnerable. When you post things such as celebrating your child's birthday, where their age can be seen or is referenced, this can give a person a lot of personal information on your child, even including things like their age, their date of birth, and their name. This personal identification information This can make your child be all the more vulnerable to identity theft. There's quite a large market for personal identification information on the black market, and children's information is the preferred information to be bought and or sold, as in most cases there is not yet any credit attached to this information. So people are able to open fraudulent lines of credit without anybody suspecting anything or notice anything is wrong until a child becomes an adult themselves and tries to open a line of credit. Posting other information about your children, such as where your child goes to school, where their bus stop is, or even their daily patterns and routines, can make them extremely vulnerable to harassment. And even worse, if this information lands in the wrong hands, it could be used for malicious intent. All of this information is extremely personal and by no means should be able to be accessed by anybody who wishes to. After all, you wouldn't want this amount of information or this After all, you wouldn't want this amount of information about you to be able to be accessed by anybody and everybody, so why would you put your child at that risk? It's very risky to post pictures and videos that include your child's face, as you no longer have control of who views your child, what they do with said pictures and videos, or even where they end up going after you post them. It is out there for the world to see, and once it's out there forever. The internet is permanent. Even if you delete them, there's no way of telling if somebody could have potentially downloaded these posts onto their personal devices, or if they potentially screenshotted the pictures, which is even less detectable and more discreet. Once they do, there is no telling what they might be doing with these. They could be potentially selling them to people who have malicious intent with them, or in even worse situations, they could be posting them on inappropriate forums for others to see, and you could be none the wiser. This has led children to being sexually exploited, whether a parent is aware of it or not. Especially in a world where AI is becoming more advanced and things such as deepfakes exist, it is important to keep a child's identity protected. It is commonly recommended that you either blur your child's face or post pictures and videos of where your child isn't facing the camera so as to keep them even more protected from things such as deepfakes. But in much safer circumstances, and as it's more widely recommended, that you just cut out posting them at all, and instead, if you would like to share these pictures and videos with, say, family or close friends, that you just send these pictures to your family and friends. That way you have more control of whom gets to see your child. The less information you post about your children is better for their safety, as our children's safety is in our hands. The effects of posting your child online doesn't just stop after childhood either. In some circumstances, especially with family vloggers, children are being posted since before they are even born, which means this is a decision that is made for them, not something that they get a voice to express whether this is something that they actually are comfortable with or not. And even if they are older when these pictures and videos with them or about them come out, they are not quite yet old enough to entirely understand what it is that they could be potentially consenting to. But when you post your child's life for everyone to see, it could potentially affect them later on into adulthood, rather than having the effects just stop after childhood, which is a big concept for most adults to understand, let alone a young child. Further down the road in adulthood, or even in your kids' teen lives, kids can be bullied for the information that you provide about their personal lives, and more important, people that have to make decisions. Further down the road into adulthood, or even in their teen lives, kids can be bullied for the information you provide about their personal lives, and important people who have to make important decisions about things that could permanently affect your children's future can potentially see these posts. This can mean that instead of making a decision simply based off any accomplishments that your child has made or things that have made them qualified for, say, a job position or maybe admissions into a college that they really want to go to or any potential scholarships that they might qualify for in the future, the decision could be tainted by the information you provided about them years ago, before these were even relevant in their day-to-day lives. With many people nowadays putting their children's entire lives out there for everyone to see, it really makes us question, how far are we willing to go to provide for our families? At what point do we cross a line and start letting our kids act like the children they are again, instead of making them feel as though it's their job to make sure that their family has enough money to get by? If you ever consider using your child or children on the internet for financial gain, think to yourself, is the information that I provide on the internet about my kids something that I would be comfortable with the same people knowing about me? Is the money I'm making worth the serious potential danger that I could be putting my child in? Or do I want this to affect my child later on in life into their adulthood? Our children look up to us. They rely on us to make these big decisions for them, as we're the only ones who can provide the protection they need from us. Without us, our children have nothing.